I have the remote meeting thing, but I'll read it and I'll just say remote and in person.
Right, there we are. We're on mute,
You
so
can't
we're
just
good,
play a recording of that.
I know.
right? You're good.
Hi, everyone. Today is November 21st, 2024. This is the Design Review Committee. My name is Amy Pertsky and I'm the chair of the Design Review Committee. This open meeting of the Design Review Committee is being conducted remotely and in person. I don't think I have to read this whole thing, right? I don't have the hybrid one. But we have people who are remote and in person. So I think I was told I don't have to read this whole thing before.
Okay.
But I still will call everybody's name to see if everybody's here. And Mark McMenamy,
Here,
Dave Varon,
Dave's not here.
and Lisa Maselli.
I am sniffling in here away.
Okay, so this, like I said, will be a hybrid meeting and staff, Lori Connors
I'm here.
and Michelle.
Here.
Okay, so I think we're ready to start. First on the agenda are the design guidelines, if that's what we want to start with. We have a couple things on the agenda today. The design guidelines we've started reviewing and some changes were sent to Lori. So we can go through and discuss those today. Lori, do you think you should pull it up on the screen or?
I'm not gonna be able to because I am not logged into this computer. Actually, I don't even know how to log in.
Do you guys have a copy of those at home?
I do, but I don't know. Dave, do you?
I don't have a copy. We said can't access this while I'm doing this, or I don't know how.
Lisa, can you pull it up maybe?
Oh,
No,
no.
at the bottom of your screen, you should see, you don't know how to share screen either.
Let me see. Share. Oh, I don't know. Here's my screen. So where am I going to find it? In the last thing you sent, right? So I have to put that on my desktop?
So all you have to do is open your email
Mhm.
and then click on the bottom of the screen, the green button that says share.
Okay.
And then click on the document and then press share again.
Oh my gosh, you guys, this is going to, wait, let me
I
see
think
what,
she attached the cover twice instead of signed.
Oh,
you didn't get the sign one?
No, you did the cover twice.
Oh, well, hang on then. Okay, I have to go into Michelle hyperlink. Which one, which of the emails did you send that had it on there? Not the one with the link, Michelle Community Advocate.
the front of mine says revised 11/14/24.
Yes, I have that one in my hand. Wow. Let's see.
Do you see it, Michelle, that you can send it?
Michelle can send that to me. Then I can.
Michelle, are you logged on?
I had to restart because my computer's
If you're logged on, I can do it on Michelle's computer.
I had to restart.
Well, while we're doing this, while Michelle sends it out, maybe we'll start with the minutes and just get those out of the way.
Is it a sign that I'm something?
No, the design
No,
guidelines.
that's- Yeah,
The most recent one.
it's the 11/14.
Okay.
Okay, so we did have a set of minutes from October 16th, 2024. I probably sent in changes. I don't remember.
I'm not gonna get any changes from you.
Whatever I did, I sent in before last week, because I was ready for last week's meeting, but I don't know either.
I didn't have changes in it.
I do not have anything in my folder.
Okay.
You want
I
to
pulled those up too. So,
All right, so we're gonna go
you can
back.
practice,
Michelle's gonna try to.
by pulling up your sign design that you sent, that part of the guidelines, you sent a new design.
Oh, yes,
Do you want
yes.
to share that as your
Yeah,
first
okay.
trial?
All right, you guys are share.
Dave, just for some background information.
Yeah.
I think it was at the last meeting, I had suggested that we change the design of the design guidelines to modernize it. Because the document from 2012 is kind of outdated looking. So Lisa had put together a new cover, and Michelle had put together a new layout that we discussed last time.
So you just shared the municipal sign.
Ooh, okay, so, yeah. See what, okay, do you want me to read it since you can see it? Can we change, can we change the agenda items or what do you want to do?
Yep, we can go through that while Michelle sends you the design guidelines to share.
Okay,
So you can describe what this is.
all right, so, and Dave, we had a series of different, options
Yeah.
to pick from with the signs, and it's the same manufacturer, the artist who does the Peasley School sign.
Mhm.
But this is a smaller and smoother background. You've got a little, I was being very creative this morning, and I'll read what I wrote because I think we're supposed to give it to the planning board after we decide. Is that correct? But that's
Well,
up
it
to,
actually go to the Board of Selectmen, I think, if you wanted a guideline for a municipal sign.
okay, well, I just
That's
put.
what I would think.
So I put, after careful consideration, the design review committee has selected a sign style and specifications guide to help create a sense of community with our municipal building identification. Oh, bad spelling. All right, Northborough municipal signage can help to create a unity and reinforcement of the village appearance that is part of the Northborough Master Plan 2020. The granite pillars with no cap conjure a sense of strength, and the carved lettering give depth and a gentle raised peak, subtly creating a calm statement on the wood-like white background. All signs would have a smooth white surface. The letters of Town of Northborough, their addresses, and the seal would always be in black, and the department name and lines surrounding the sign silhouette would match, but be of different colors, such as blue for the police department, green for the DPW, or fire station, since their doors will be green, and so on. Our school signs would be larger in size and match the newly created Peasley School sign that has wavy carved surface, taller granite pillars with no cap, and the school mascot would replace the town seal. What do you think?
So this is supposed to go in front of every building? Is that the
Yeah.
whole idea?
Yeah,
Municipal buildings, right?
municipal building. And I should, it's too bad I don't know where I can come up. Maybe I can come up with the page that shows all the ones we looked at. Maybe that would be helpful. I'm gonna test.
So
it.
if you want to stop sharing that image, so Lisa, you can only share one image at a time.
Okay.
So if you want to stop sharing that one, then you can share another one.
Okay, so now. I
And you
have-
might wanna enlarge it to use on the whole screen, like it showed the background of your computer with all your
Oh,
files.
oh my God, that's like showing my messy house. Oh my. Okay. All right, so, all right, let me do one more thing and see if I can find it. This is my first time doing this.
It's at 2%. It says all these updates.
All right, let's see. Ba, 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 ba.
I might be able to send it to her, if I can.
I sent the guidelines.
Oh, to her,
Yeah,
Oh,
to
okay.
everyone I sent them.
Okay, let me see if the other one's on.
just
here.
today.
Am I sharing the screen still? Ba, 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 ba. Hope not. Line 2 example. Sign making policies. I don't have the piece on here. Yeah, I don't know where I put it, but it's not on here. All right, I'm sorry, I can't pull that one up right away, but I could probably pull up the,
Okay, well, we got the idea, I think
all
that
right,
was what we had discussed before. I thought the sign looked good,
okay, now let me find it.
nice.
Where did
Now,
I-
did it say in your letter what materials, or is the town gonna decide what materials to use? I don't know.
No,
seen the-
what I would do is create a spec, like you do with a logo. You have like a series of specifications. So it's the size, the material, the pillars with no cap and all that. I didn't complete that letter, but that's what you'd normally have as a specification sheet, like a logo sheet. So it gives you the colors that you can use, it gives you the size, the letters, the font, all of that. So if you
Okay.
have a different person to make the signs, it's all going to be the same. So that's kind of the plan on that. And I'll get that ready so that we can have that. But
So
that's why, yeah, it'll be like, say again?
I was wondering if Mark or Dave or anyone has any input on the municipal sign?
I think the signs look fine. They're gonna be lit from the ground up or anything, they're not?
Yes, yes. And that again
Um,
is part of the spec sheet.
And then
So
the only 2 cents I would have is if they're wood, what's the lifespan on that?
it's actually not wood, it's
Okay.
it's composite.
Then it's gonna be fine.
Okay. So, and I have all that, and I have the sizes and everything else on the piece that the artist or the sign maker gave me. So, we could in fact do, if you wanted to have two different sizes for application, and then we would have to decide on the height. So right now, if you've gone to the senior center, you notice that that's tall, probably too tall for this, but they have the pillars and they have a different shape sign with a more of a bulb on the top. And I found that was in an awful lot more towns than the curve, the smooth curve.
We can send Bob for the, I think in our sign bylaws, it can be, there are rules that a sign can't be more than 12 feet high and the size has a certain size.
Right, so we would have to specify what we wanted. Because you know, right now where town hall is, you don't want a real tall skinny sign. You know, like at Peasley, you want it lower to the ground. Because you don't want to, the building is close, so I think the size of the building versus the sign and how it appears, you don't want the sign to be this, like you would take the Peasley sign and put it in front of the town hall right now. It's the best way to describe it.
I think also maybe the size may vary based on the topography of the land. So if you have a sloping lot and also how far it's set back from the roadway.
Mm.
So I would say that it shouldn't be necessarily specified. I think every property, there might be some sort of variation based on the topography.
Well, that would actually be the pillar. The pillar that, you know, one side of the pillar would be higher than the other, but it would be level to the road. But that would be, again, that's your spec sheets. So what we're trying to do first is get an understanding of what it would look like. And I think what I would do is go and take pictures of each area where it's supposed to go. I might be able to superimpose a sign on the land, but it'll take me a little bit of time to do that.
Okay, so mainly we're here just to review what it looked like as a sign, like the design.
Yes, I mean, it's up to you whether you want to move forward, just giving them, here's what we're going to be doing with the spec, or wait and do the whole spec thing with it. Maybe we should do the whole spec thing with it. What do you think? I think
I don't
that's
know.
better.
I don't know. I think like Lori said, maybe we just show them what the design is, and then it would be different for each building depending on the building. Like if it's a really huge building, the sign might be even bigger.
If you have a
Sorry.
sign company doing it,
Yeah,
they should have a CAD capacity to show you what it looks like in front of the building. Every sign company that I've worked with.
that's
which
true.
I do.
Yeah.
They design it for our clients, show us, hey, this is what. I mean, otherwise, we have to do that when I do our designs, and we'll show that in there.
Mhm.
They should have that software to do that. Because we'll take that and then we throw it onto our CAD system and then, you know, put it into our whole layout of what we do for our clients.
Yeah,
But they should be able to provide you, instead of you putting your time into that, they should be able to give you all of that done. You know, your hands off, let them do it.
Okay, and that's great, because you can notice on that, the sign that I showed, the dimensions were already on that sign. And he gave me 3 different sizes with those specs on them, because the specs came with costs. You know, the larger the sign, the more expensive. So he's already started to do that, so I'm sure once we decide what shape we wanted, I think you're right, I'll just ask him to do that.
Yeah, and
Can you
especially,
pull up the shape again?
I knew you were gonna ask me that. Oh, no, wait a minute.
I just wanna make sure everybody's okay with it, and then you could go to the person and ask them to put it like in front of the town hall.
Yeah,
And then send out your letter to everybody and we can. If anyone has any comments or edits. And then at the next meeting, we could send out the letter.
okay.
It's up to you.
Is the selectmen allocating ARPA funds to pay for these signs?
We may, I mean, if we can get it in a little sooner, you know, there's a little bit of money still sitting there. So I would think, that's what I had in mind. Okay.
How much did the sign cost when you had the prices?
Oh, you would ask me that question, wouldn't you? Oh, wow. No, I don't. I don't have that directly in front of me. I just have the measurements of the sign, so it's on a different page that I wasn't.
Do you
ready-
remember if it was like 3,000 or 30,000? Like.
No, it's not 30,000. No, and and he did give me a quote, but like I said, it's been so long, I haven't got it at my fingertips. If you can see, right? I mean, this is what I have right now in paper. I don't have the pricing, because we weren't sure of. No, I have to find it, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Can you see the screen?
Yeah. Lawyer was thinking probably 3,000 to 5,000 per sign, and so I don't even know how many signs there are, but there.
I wonder if it would be good, like when the signs are ready to be replaced, then replace them, but if they're already in good shape, maybe keep them. Because that's a super expensive project to replace all the signs on all the municipal buildings simultaneously.
I agree.
Well, it would be police, fire, town hall.
And then all the schools.
Well, I think you were gonna leave the schools now.
Well, the schools they should budget that under their own. But
When they're
when they
replaced.
replace their sign, they should make it look like the Peasley School.
There's library, DPW.
Yeah.
The library doesn't even have a sign right now.
Yeah, they don't even have a sign. So what we could do is we could make the police, since we're redoing their building, which be
Yeah.
whatever. We could do the library and maybe town hall. I mean, the town
I
hall.
would say that, I would recommend that, because town hall, the sign out here is pretty old,
Yeah,
so the town hall. And then the police, and then, like you said, the library doesn't even have one.
right. So, and then I
But it
think,
probably would be important to have one, because if you do wayfaring, like I was in downtown Hudson the other day, and they had the wayfaring signs, and it points, this way library, this way town hall. All the little signs, and so people who aren't from town, like I actually met up with someone yesterday and they said, I'd say La Vie, and they're like, what's the building to the left? And I'm like, oh, that's the library.
yeah.
But she didn't know it because there was no sign.
The other thing too is that the
But it's-
library could be one-sided and face the road. Right? And so could the town offices, and just put lights on one side up the front, and then the police would have it on both sides, because they're at a location that you can see it easily from both directions, and they have all that lawn. What do you think?
Well, I would think library would be both sides too, and town hall.
Yeah, I would think most would be.
Yeah,
One of most, okay,
I would do it both sides.
okay.
Be confused coming the other way if you saw a blank.
Well, if it's
Oh, you're
flat,
facing the street.
yeah, you're
I-
facing the
You can
street.
see it when you're driving if it's facing the street. I would think it would have to be,
All right, it's fine.
I don't know.
No, but coming this way, that's how I know when to turn. Because there are multiple driveways there, so.
Well, you know what we could do with the library sign too, is I wanted to put like eye hooks underneath so that you could hang something else under the sign for whatever reason you might want,
Like book sale today or,
yeah, for the library book sale today, or entrance on Gale Street.
yeah,
Patty Lane.
So
right,
that would at least give them some options.
Yeah.
I don't think the town offices, well, I don't know we could do, I mean, it doesn't do anything if you just put the eye hooks on and nobody's gonna notice them unless you want to put something else on them anyway. But,
Right.
I think that's an option too for them.
Now, when you look around at other towns like Southborough, are there signs facing the street or are they?
Yes, yeah, there's a couple facing the street. And again, it's because, and we could have the sign company put it there so you could see it.
Right,
I think with the library, it's hard to, I mean, I imagined it being flat because it's the way it's such a short field of vision, but we can make it both ways and then have that decision.
okay,
Oh, yeah.
So they built into a country home.
so we could, if you discuss it at the next meeting, would that be in time to get it on the select board agenda if we're gonna replace the sign? ARPA money,
I think what I'll have to do is I'll have to get pricing, and I think we should give them a heads up on that because we're really right at the end. So December 2nd, I think, there's only 2 meetings in December. So
Right.
what we should do, I think, is get size pricing, and then just do it for 3 signs for ARPA money.
okay, and
Because
even if it's allocated, then we can decide afterwards if it's facing the street or if it's facing.
Okay. Because I think, if it's facing, you only have one side, so it costs less.
In my opinion, you should do a double-sided sign and have it, well, particularly for the town hall and the library, so that people can see it as they're
Right.
coming up the street.
All right.
That's what I think, too, and the police station too, you'd want it.
Yeah, definitely police station. All right, so I'll get prices on that, and then maybe what we should do is we tweak this little letter and then send it off. Or maybe we should get prices or put this, I don't know. I
If we're
know,
definitely gonna do it, you can get the prices and send it along, but I think we should tweak the letter and send the changes to Lori. And then send it in for the next select board meeting, because we're gonna run out of time.
yeah, I agree. That's my vote.
And the pricing includes the granite, okay.
Yeah, the granite, and it'll be granite and installation. The only thing I didn't include when I talked with him is the lighting. So we'll have to get that too.
Right, hopefully, could they use the wiring, like, I know out front here, the sign is lit.
Hmm.
So they use that same lighting probably for the lights that shine up on the sign.
Yeah, I would think so. We just have to locate where we're gonna put it. But yeah, I mean, I will call them. Tweak this, I'll
Okay.
call them today. I'll give that information to Lori, and get, like I said, he originally gave me three sign sizes. So we can pick the size and have it, maybe.
I'm okay if you finish this with Lori,
Okay,
because we're not gonna have time to meet again before December.
is that good, Lori?
Yeah, that's fine. Just so you know, next week I'm mostly off all week.
Me too.
So I'm only gonna be here on Tuesday and half a day on Wednesday.
I wonder-
I'll be in Vegas, so I won't be here next week either. So what I think I'll try to do is call them today and get all those figures set.
Give some blocks there.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm not here, you can always just submit it yourself on behalf of the design review committee, since you have all the information.
Okay, and it'll be to the selectmen. All right. Okay, all right.
I think that would help with downtown revitalization too, making it look nice and.
I think
Uniform.
so too, yeah. I think a whole new look's starting to come around.
Be nice to have some landscaping under the signs too.
Right,
Yeah, and that's, unfortunately,
maybe,
we're getting into the cold weather, so.
but maybe there could be a little money in the budget with the signs to put landscaping underneath.
Okay,
Maybe a couple of $100 per sign.
okay.
Dave, do you think that would be enough to do some like small bushes and maybe grasses, perennials?
Mm,
No,
No, how much would you recommend per sign for a little landscaped area?
I think you're almost 800 to 1,000, huh, Dave?
easy, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, I would probably, I think the DPW would probably kick in, do a quick bed around it as part of their normal maintenance, mulch, whatever, and throw some loam. on
Right.
it. We've talked to Scott, and then you can always add as time goes. Unless you want to get, money up front. I don't know how that all works internally with you guys. But, you're planting and whatever. The prices of things now. If you can get the DPW to throw in the mulching as part of your normal stuff, that's gonna take a chunk of change out of it.
mm,
And prepping it with, loam when they do that.
Landscape.
But, your plant stock, you throw some grasses in, you throw some plants underneath it, and flowers, you're gonna eat up 500 real quick. So, plus labor, whatever, and depends how, what we want to do under there. And then, of course, depending on where they are, like in the middle of the school there, no one's watering anything. So do you want to spend that money and see it dead?
right.
So,
Well, the DPW already does, I mean, maybe just do planting for the 2 downtown locations and see how those go. And then add
Right.
something to the police station later.
And they've done an amazing job along this building.
The DPW does maintain the downtown, I mean, the town hall property, and
Yeah,
they
it's got
really do a fantastic
Yeah,
job.
Yeah, Library's pretty good, well landscaped too. I'm just looking at the picture, and it's got some mulch and everything around the trees, so.
Yeah, Scott Crew has done a phenomenal job at, he said he gets them on something, they do it, they water it, they try to maintain it, they've done a great job, but. Like the schools, if we can get the school, that's a harder one, is the schools pretty much, I mean, they don't. Nothing against whoever's running the schools, but I mean, they're doing everything they can to do whatever in the schools, and then to try to step outside, I mean, the high school has more of a, of staff to do something like that, the middle schools and the elementary schools, that they really don't.
Right.
And everything to maintain those buildings, never mind grounds outside, they just don't have it. So,
But-
as a project for the kids, maybe.
So if we do the downtown,
Just the downtown areas, just those 2.
yeah, or even the 3, like, cause if we put 3 new signs and then put the same plantings under each one. We could get the plants in the spring when we go for the planters. Like if we had a plan, Lori and I pick up the plants for the planters downtown, we could pick up the plants. And
Right.
maybe W would agree. I don't wanna put words in their mouths, but if it's not a lot of plants, maybe they would put them in.
Well, I think the police station has, what is it? I'm gonna say hydrangea, it's not hydrangea. It's, hosta. And hosta stay low, and they're pretty, what's the word, resilient, don't you think? So you could do a couple of hosta, because you want stuff to stay low. The problem with grasses is they're gonna come up high and eventually they're gonna get, out of control, unless you get the dwarf ones, which I think are pretty.
Offline, you and Lori can finish up the sign letter to the select board. And we can just add in a couple hundred for the plants and.
Okay.
And maybe Lori, after you could talk to The poor DPW, we keep,
Yeah, and talk to them. I mean, maybe we just do a couple of perennials and then just do annuals. Those are cheap the first couple of years until.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I mean,
figure
that,
it out.
because we can't put anything, it's just too late in the season to put any plants in until April or May, right? As soon as the frost is done. we
and the
put-
signs probably won't even get until next year.
And we could do bulbs too. Those are relatively cheap. Daffodils and.
Right,
So,
okay, well, we'll figure that out, but it's great if you and Lori could work to finalize it and get it to the select board
Okay.
before their next meeting.
I guess my weekend is shut. All
I
right,
think you're almost there, you're really close, you just need to,
yeah, I'll call the sign company, get prices. That's the most important thing.
okay. So now, getting to the design review guidelines, Lisa's sharing a cover that you worked on, a new cover.
Yep.
Mind explaining any about it?
Okay, well, again, this picture, I think it's the best Northborough looks in the fall because there's so many colors going on and it's really beautiful. And this gives a sense of the community, like the whole community. You see the churches with the steeples and you see a lot of, even like up to the, underneath guidelines, you see these 3 little white houses. And you almost see that look through their maps back in the 1800s where they had those little plunked there. And it's the downtown, so it gives a whole sense of the overview of what we're doing. I can do a variety of things with this. I can take, let's say, the lower right-hand corner and fold it up a little bit and then create a look that the page is kind of turned, and you could put a little bit of information like the December 2024 could be on that little curve up. I can take this block off. I can fade out areas and put in like design review guidelines and just big letters. I mean, it certainly can be anything you want. But I like the idea of having this whole community and sense of it because we're doing that with the signs. We're trying to create a vision of how it all works together. And I think in the past, a lot of our architects come in and they just design for their one lot. And I do think that I mean, if we want it to look uniform and like the vision that everybody has in their mind, we have to give an overview of a vision. So that's why I chose that. Where the other ones, like the block with 4 different pictures in it, it only highlights those 4 architectural designs, so to speak, in a smaller state. And inside we'll have pictures of all of those buildings and stuff. So that was why I chose this. But I'm listening. I'm up to whatever you'd like to offer.
The only comment I would make, Lisa, is if you could include the initial date, because this is an update. So if you could put July 2012, updated December 2024.
Okay. All right. And
With that going-
do you like it that way with the seal and the design? I like the lettering for design review guidelines. And I only use the town of Northborough because it's like the same font that's on the seal.
I like it.
And the town of Northborough is actually the color brick, which is on the 4 West Main Street, so,
Yeah, I like having, it looks like a ribbon,
yeah.
the seal. That's kind of like a belt buckle.
Oh, yeah.
I like it.
So do you want to leave it like this and just put that on there, the 2012 and then this?
Yeah. It's up to, I don't know what Dave and Mark
I
think.
mean, I suppose we could also on the next page, but like maybe do an originally adopted,
But I think on the final page, there's the authors and the date.
Yeah, yeah, and I definitely want to give the photographer a byline for this. But that would go on the inside.
Who's the photographer?
I forget his name.
Oh.
I have it listed, but I was like, oh, where is it? I know it's here somewhere.
Okay. Thought you got a drone.
No, I want a drone. Christmas is coming, anybody?
All right,
The drone stuff.
so. Fine.
All right, so I'll
The
fix
other-
that and then we can start working on the inside. I do like what Medway did a lot. They've got a lot, it's interesting how when you look at the stuff graphically, you don't notice it the first time you're looking at their book, but the introduction and everything, the table of contents pages, each section is a different color. So, the department of such and such is one color, and then there's 4 or 5 different spots that they change, like a guideline for multifamily or whatever, if I'm explaining it correctly.
Page like this,
Oh, yeah, that looks good.
and then we can say originally
Yeah, yeah.
adopted. So I was just pointing out on the Medway, Lisa.
Yeah.
So the second page and so it's on the cover. They have Town of Medway, Massachusetts. They have the seal, design review guidelines, and then they put the board members.
Yes,
And then that would be a good opportunity to put originally adopted, July, updated. So you wouldn't have to clutter up that first page.
yeah, I've got that here.
But yeah, that's exactly what I'm looking at.
Yeah. And I love the second page with the letter. Because, it talks of, it's that little, it talks of the village design and blah, blah, blah. And then it's got the Board of Selectmen, the Planning, Economic Development Board and Design Review Board on the bottom, signed. I mean, they just did such a great job. I mean, this is 215 and it still looks so current.
Okay. Before we get into that, do you want, Michelle, can you pull up, we should get into the meat and potatoes of the text that we changed, and then later on we'll get into how it's gonna be laid out.
Okay, yeah.
Just because I know people might be crunched for time.
Okay, I'm not sharing, right?
Okay, I started with the first change, because design review overviews different parts of the zoning bylaws. It was kind of written in the purpose, we discussed this at last meeting. But to make it clear, I just pulled it out and cut and pasted what's in the zoning bylaws. So if you're an applicant, it shows off the bat what has to go in front of design review, because if your project doesn't even have to go in front of design review, there's no sense in going further into the design review guidelines. So I thought adding a section of applicability, I don't know, what did you guys think?
Go ahead.
I think it kind of clarifies. I probably would remove, like, you have applicability and then you have one design review. Like I'd remove the one and just have that be a sentence and then
Oh,
have
sure.
bullets underneath.
Yep, that would be fine. I just cut and pasted from design review guidelines, from the zoning bylaws, so I didn't. So we got them right.
Okay, so the second line, like it starts with business district, comma, the or site plan approval. What does
Right, the must be a typo too.
So I would
I'll
recommend,
look at my guidelines.
I don't know what that means. Well, I don't know what it refers to, but
I'll open it up right now and check what it says. Even if I cut and paste, I must have done it wrong. All right, design review by the design review committee shall be required as part of the site plan approval. Oh, you know why it is? Because our last town meeting, we added the sign. Or was it this town meeting, we're adding the sign, so I added it in. The ones in blue, D, F, and G were what we added with this year's town meeting.
If we do abbreviations, should we also reference the map or spell them out the first time?
Yeah, I'd rather spell it out instead of doing the abbreviations so that people understand.
Okay,
And Dewey, because we're gonna change it a little bit, could we just bullet it instead of saying A, B, C, and D? Like,
yeah.
each one space between them. And,
Mhm.
I think there was something,
Right now, with the book I have, it doesn't talk about the sign permit. Yet,
No, that was just approved at the last town meeting.
right,
so we did get approval at the last town meeting for sign permitting?
So we did these two. These last two bullets.
and then we had the third one, because we had a different bylaw.
Yeah,
At town meeting for the multifamily development overlay. Yes, so this is probably the sentence that should be the first sentence, right? The applicability from the warrant. Because it passed, but it wasn't, it's not in our current book. So
Okay.
Lori's just gonna update it to say exactly what it says. In the warrant article that passed.
Mhm.
And the blue bullets at the bottom are what passed at town meeting too. And the yellow. ABC is what we already had. So we'll just make this match what the zoning bylaws say.
Yeah.
And we'll change ABC to bullets. And get rid of the one.
I'd probably just say her, this section of the zoning bylaw.
Okay. So Lori will tweak that to update it to match. How the zoning bylaw reads today. So then when we went down to the next section, purpose. I think we crossed out
If you can scroll.
all the verbiage that had to do with where it's applicable.
Okay, when we start writing this up, I just want it, because again, I don't even mind helping Michelle do it. The first, and this is just editorial things, design review committee, every time we show that, shouldn't that be capitalized? Should be consistency in that. Because it's on the purpose as design review committee in caps, but on the applicability, it is not.
Yeah, I can fix that, that's no problem.
Okay. And then when we see it says under the zoning bylaw, should that be paren S or just bylaws?
If you're referring to a specific section, then it says zoning bylaw. If you're referring to the document, it's zoning bylaws.
Okay, so wouldn't that, then you put a paren S after it, so it would go to either?
Like. I suppose if you're referring to two, then yes, it should be zoning bylaws. Two sections.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is if you put it in paren, it would just ordinarily, whoever's looking at it realizes that's what it is. Because when you got the section, it says section of the what zoning bylaw, that is the law. But when you're talking about the responsibilities under the zoning bylaw above.
I don't know. I can't really follow what you're saying.
Okay, because you've got it when you go just before the one, the last sentence, Northborough zoning bylaws with an S. And articulate the following design objectives.
I believe it should be an S,
Okay,
zoning bylaws.
all right. But, so then going back to the purpose of these, the top of that paragraph, purpose of these guidelines is to assist property owners, proponents, architects, yada, 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 to assist the committee with its meeting responsibilities under the zoning bylaws. And then these guidelines supplement the development standards. Because we have more than one bylaw that we're working on.
I don't know what paragraph you're on.
Or just go up to the top of that, the purpose of paragraph. It's only the second paragraph in the purpose. Down, or it's the paragraph above number 1, strengthen the character of the town.
Are you talking about these guidelines supplement the site development standards in these section of the Northborough zoning bylaws
Yes,
to be an S?
yes.
I added an S.
Okay,
Are you in the first sentence in the second paragraph under purpose?
yes.
Which is,
Oh, are you talking about the first sentence? The Northborough zoning bylaw provides for a design review process. It should be bylaws.
Should be bylaws, and then when you go to the second paragraph, the first sentence,
The purpose of these guidelines. With meeting its responsibility under the zoning bylaws. Yes, it should be an S.
okay. Then after that, Lori just added, certain standards and design guidelines that are in the zoning bylaws that should be noted in the
right,
guidelines. The parking and loading standards, sign standards.
Yep.
And then in the purpose, we went over it last time. Number 1's the same as before. Lori, you added number 2. And we agreed that we thought that was a good one to add.
yes, I like that.
And then there was 3. 4 had some edits. Which I thought was fine. And then number 5, did I add number 5? I think so. It's hard with the color changes.
Yes, I believe you did.
What's this Dave on here?
That's my son's Dave.
Oh, right.
Just to confuse everybody,
Okay,
I use his Microsoft Word.
yeah,
I like that, I like number 5.
I took that one out of Medway because we were talking about how the main purpose when we started this was because we wanted to define New England because it's in a couple of the bylaws that we wanted New England character. So we went back, Dave, Veron, we went back to Medway because they defined what New England character was, so we tried to define it in these guidelines.
Again,
Because there were a couple items in the guidelines where it talked about New England. And then at the planning board, someone's like, can you define New England? So that's what we tried to do here. And what I read in Medway mostly, what they reinforced as traditional New England downtown was walkability, scale, human scale, pedestrian and walkable site designs, inviting streetscapes and small public spaces for socializing and gathering. And that number 5 goes along with what we've been talking about with downtown revitalization.
I wonder, is this specifically geared to the downtown? Because maybe we should say that.
Well, I mean, I think Route 20, you kind of want to create, once you get the downtown started, don't you think you'd like to fan out a little bit on the corridor? So business east, business west, maybe, you know what I'm saying? You want to be able, when you're driving down 20, to create the sense like you have in Sudbury, where it's kind of that old, you know, it looks similar.
Like the Lala Java building, like that, is like a little village walkable area.
Yeah,
Okay, I guess also Northborough Crossing, you could say that.
right. So I would, within the downtown business district, neighborhood and multifamily, as well as the business corridor, maybe? Would you say that 20 would be the business corridor?
I just leave it as she wrote it, encourage commercial development wherever it exists, so.
Yeah. Oh,
I don't have to specify where, if the decision is that this is the way all commercial development should be.
mm,
And lately, that's what a lot of, developers have been doing anyways.
mhm.
I just threw it in there because that's the way Medway had it for the New England.
So,
They would development is pedestrian scale.
right, I actually was talking about number 4. I think I like number 5 the way it is. Because I'm looking at 4 saying you're creating a booklet, you kind of want to be able to experience all of it. So. Is there a specific,
Encourage development within the commercial districts that respects the character of established neighborhoods. So you could
yes,
even write it there versus
yes, yeah.
calling out specific.
I agree to that. I mean, I love 5. There's nothing I would change with 5. 4, it just kind of limits a little bit because the paragraph above it, you can see highway business and South District, and business South districts. Do you know what I mean? So I know that we're encouraging this downtown business development now, but we also want to encourage it as it travels throughout.
That just fits in the character of the established area.
Yeah,
Well, I think of Route 9 though, and think of like Northborough Crossing, there are no neighborhoods.
yeah.
It's just a commercial strip.
Right. So
Like even West Main Street
mhm.
really aren't any neighborhoods. It's just it's a highway corridor.
It is, but you know what we keep seeing is that once in the 50s or whatever, it was homes, well, before the 50s. And then by the 60s and 70s, we're starting to see those homes turn into businesses. And then we're starting to call it now a commercial district. And then in the 2020s, we're starting to see a turn back to residential or 2 families or whatever, when you think about that whole corridor as you're talking, not necessarily downtown, and even some of that is multi-use family or multi-use. So you're blending both a residential and a commercial in the same space. So when you're doing that, and that's what I was wondering, what the difference between multifamily and multi-use.
Mixed use is a blend of commercial and residential together.
Okay, so as we're looking at number 4 to encourage the development, it would be a broader encouragement than just the downtown business. Do you know what I mean? As much as we're working on that now, we don't want to have to, the book is supposed to cover everything, isn't it? Don't anybody jump in.
And then I'm trying to think, because I'm thinking of Business West. And there are houses in the neighborhoods behind it, but on the street itself. There aren't really.
So Business West is Southwest Cutoff in that area or? is
Or
it
going out by like,
Towards Shrewsbury?
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
towards
I would
the-
say we say established neighborhoods and really not a lot of
Yeah.
established.
Right. Well, Southwest Cutoff, you've got homes, as you come around the corner, you've got a couple of commercial buildings, and you've got an apartment building, and then you've got a more commercial buildings, and then you've got 2 families on one side, and you've got homes on the other side. And then you've got that.
True,
line-
Southwest Cutoff has homes.
Yeah, but it's not an established neighborhood.
Yeah, I
It's a fairly
wouldn't-
new road.
I would just call it established development, I wouldn't call it a neighborhood. A neighborhood is more of a collection of homes.
Yeah,
It could be mixed use, but it's usually a block. And, you know, what we're talking about is just a scattered home here and there. To me, that doesn't constitute a neighborhood.
so you gotta go all the way to Davis Street before there's an older house there.
Yeah,
Okay. Um. I don't wanna get hung up on this too long, cause we gotta keep moving, but.
Well, I don't see any of this as a major item. It's-
Right, this is just a,
Yeah, we shouldn't spend too much time on it.
right, we can go back to that if we wanna, but. This is just the purpose,
no, I can't.
both to think about that.
Okay,
And I did think about it when I was home and reading it, and I thought it was okay, I didn't really.
okay, so are we gonna, if we go down to the next where we've got 3.6 encourage development that's most sustainable. You have it again where applicants are encouraged to consider sustainability objectives across all aspects of the project. So I think
Where
that's.
are you?
So that number 6.
Oh, encourage development, okay.
Yeah, I
That's
would,
one thing you questioned before, sustainable and
Oh,
resilient.
and this has changed, so.
yeah, so I would take that away because you've got it below. After 4.7, applicants are encouraged to consider sustainability objectives all across aspects. So that's, you've said it twice. So
I
I,
don't see-
Right, I don't see it.
Oh,
but-
sustainability objectives?
yeah,
But we're still in the purpose, right, number 6?
isn't that part of the purpose?
Well, she's got the conclusion paragraph, but this is,
Oh, I see
number
where you're
6 is more about sustainability than,
Why is it, well, mine says 3.6, is that number, that should be 6.
well, no, it's 3 crossed out and then 6.
Okay,
Maybe we don't need an applicant section because the applicant's sentence, because there's a whole section on sustainability further on,
So just delete that last sentence.
yeah.
Yeah,
although I like that though.
But
I
we
like-
have it when you go through like massing and
All right,
then you go through the guidelines to all the different sections. And there is a sustainability section.
mhm.
do we want climate change to be climate changes, plural? Just sounds better.
Sure. Okay,
So you're gonna take the sentence out and not 6 out.
right. So then the next section we had gone through last time talks about the New England Village character in downtown Northborough. And Lori, Lori went through and described at the last meeting. The houses she picked out, because people were talking about historical downtown. So she put in some examples.
So what I tried to do is kind of give some examples of kind of like reuse, maybe of historic buildings, and also how additions blend with the old architecture. So I was specifically targeting buildings in the downtown that I thought were kind of successful and met the spirit of the design guidelines. So they were noteworthy from an architectural standpoint and also because they're successful reuse of buildings. So that first one is 10 Church Street. And then you want to scroll down?
Okay, you know what I'd like to do to that picture, Lori? The one,
Okay,
the one on 10 Church. I'll go take the old one and I'll go back and take a photograph of it from the same angle. Like the one we have in downtown with the awnings.
okay.
If you come down that, if you come down that page a little bit, you can see what I mean. So can you just drop that down a little bit, Amy? It keeps going up to the letters.
No, her computer's stuck.
Oh,
I think if you get rid of the,
This shows the sign going sideways and that's how it should be, the library.
yeah, I can't do that, because it's something up with this.
okay. Well, that, you know what I'm talking about, so. Because I sent you those other two and you can see the clarity helps for the before and after.
Yep. When you have the book open, if you're looking at the pictures, Lisa, 28 Main Street has the granite pillars and the sign the way it is sideways, not facing the street.
See your-
That's how maybe the library should be. I'm going back to the library.
Wait a minute. What's the page?
So the computer's hung, so can't scroll it.
Yeah, she's looking for a mouse for the laptop,
Okay,
but I can't scroll using my mouse.
All
It
right.
has.
okay. I have it under page 4, the photo I'm talking about.
Yep, I think Laura said it's okay if you go back and send her a new picture.
Right.
So then, did anybody have some changes to the wording, the New England Village character downtown Northborough? I had some changes.
I sent mine on a separate one because I couldn't get the tracking thing to work. It looks like everything's been incorporated, so.
Yeah, what I did, and that's why I sent the additional one that
Okay.
showed his changes, because I had originally written the document and it was showing up as red track changes. So when I made the changes, it was just eliminating the old text. So his changes have been incorporated,
Okay, so I gotta read,
but they're
so,
not showing up as his changes.
all right, so, but it's still in red, and what's underlined, I'm assuming is coming in?
Yeah, all of that section is brand new text, so everything is new.
But we saw it at the last meeting, everything underlined. I did the cross out.
Okay.
There was some strikeout
Oh, yeah.
because
Don't tell us, don't tell us.
you didn't want to mention specific plans. So I changed the sentence to say during recent community outreach meetings and surveys, participants felt strongly that the Northborough New England Village character should be celebrated, preserved, and carefully considered as future development occupies the downtown area and historic buildings are renovated and expanded.
Yes, I think that's great. What is Italianate? Italienate?
It's a style of Victorian.
Okay. So is that a
It's
book?
kind of like the most famous style for subclass of it.
Okay. Is the computer saying it doesn't know how to spell it? Is that what that little squiggly line is underneath it?
Yeah, probably.
Oh, wait.
It's
Yeah.
not
Well,
recognizing.
yeah, no, it should be just Italian 8 at the end, I think. So,
Italianate?
yeah, that's what I saw in another source.
Yeah, I think the E's got to be changed to an A. Just like, what is that?
Yeah, it's on share, but
Okay.
if you put that in.
All right. Wow, we got two we got 2 pages done.
Yeah, the E should be an A.
Yeah. Okay. In both places.
Are you saying I spelled it wrong?
You spelled it a different way. I'm not, because I do see these words spelled differently in different
Yeah.
places, so. I wouldn't say it was wrong.
I wonder if we can change during recent community outreach meetings and surveys, if we could just say during recent community outreach. Gosh, I had the word and it just flew out of my head. Community outreach activities. Is
Mhm.
that okay?
Yeah,
I like the meetings and surveys because that's what we did, right? I mean, we,
right, I do want to include the surveys.
Yeah, I don't
too.
think survey should that be possessive or plural?
well, it's more than, we've done more than one.
Yeah, it shouldn't be possessive. But
So why is it?
because there were other activities as well, it wasn't just surveys.
What if we do meetings, activities and surveys, like include it all? Like, I do think the surveys, like, because when I'm on the planning board and I push like. All these surveys that come out, and then people are like, well, I did the survey last time, like, so I don't want to disregard. The people who have done all their surveys.
Well, and I think the importance of letting know that surveys were done is that you had people's input.
Hmm. Because they'll come out and say, can you do the survey? They'll be like, oh, I just did a survey.
I know.
But if we ignore the surveys, then they're like, well, why did I bother doing a survey if no one's gonna read it?
Right.
And I do think we took into account what was discussed at the meetings and the surveys.
Right, because it also, I mean, even the master plan had the surveys, so
Okay.
I think it's,
And why don't we just say and other activities? The reason why I'm saying that is because they went to Apple Fest and talked to people as well. They did interviews, so there were like stakeholder meetings, so it was more than just.
It's studies they do.
well, yeah, doesn't the
Right.
word outreach mean that though?
Well, that's why I originally said during recent community outreach activities, so that would encompass everything that they did, which were above and beyond just the meetings and the surveys.
Activities. How about during recent community outreach activities, including meetings and surveys?
Yeah, but I don't think that that was, I think that the one-on-one interviews that they had with people were also important. I mean, unless you wanna add. Cause they did that at Apple Fest, but they also did it by literally interviewing people. And there were maybe 10 people that they interviewed. And, you know, those people devoted a significant amount of time.
Who are these, where were these conducted? These interviews?
They were done by the consultancy. Over the phone, I assume.
Yeah, but who, I mean, I know Amy went around, I know Julianne went around, I mean, what was that? What was the importance that 10 people had over or outreach meetings and activities though?
Well, it's what was done because there were key stakeholders, so
Yeah, but still,
that was part of the process.
I don't know if it's that, people aren't even gonna be looking at that. I don't know that.
And then there was also, like, for example, there was a site walk. So there was a lot of community outreach that is not captured here, is my point.
You just say community outreach, get rid of meetings and surveys.
Yeah, well,
Community outreach activities.
I just want people to know that their surveys are heard too, like. Yeah,
no, I agree. I think
But-
the
alright,
outreach,
so recent community outreach should include everything.
well, I mean, I think, as you could, I mean, there's a lot of reading there. Nobody's really gonna go and once they
Right.
start with this, it's like, we don't have to add more stuff. I think outreach meetings or outreach meetings and activities, including surveys, would help, because the word outreach means you did that, you went to these different people. But, you know, this is a bigger, broader thought process. So, You know, as much as we're talking about the character of the downtown, that's really what this paragraph is about. So in talking about, you know, what all this came from, participants felt strongly. I mean, that's pretty much whoever the participants were, whether they were the people that interviewed, whether they were the people that did a survey, whether they were the people that went to a meeting. They were all participants. So I don't know that you really have to really make a deep dive to get into that, because you did the work. People know you did the work. But the people reading this down the years from now aren't really going to care.
Where,
And it's not the important part of the sentence, right, or the
It
paragraph.
isn't.
It's-
No.
Right. So that's what I, you know, I think we only,
okay, so we're just gonna leave it at during recent community outreach, participants felt,
Activities.
oh. Activities,
but yeah,
Yeah.
let's do activity instead of meetings and surveys, leave that in,
Huh?
right?
I think it should just be collapsed to activities, because then you're placing judgment on which is more important. Like they spent a whole year talking with the master plan implementation committee. So that was, you know, a year's worth of focus group meetings on that topic.
Yeah.
So, and
At a meeting or an activity.
Well, that's why we don't want to specify, you know, because it's either or.
Right.
Where surveys, you know, unless you have the data on the surveys, it's easy to disqualify a survey, you know, depending on the sample, you know, who you surveyed. So we want to avoid all of that.
but the surveys are included in the master plan. Like the surveys, I think, included everybody, where the outreach was 10 people.
well, now you're eliminating all of the
But
the
survey,
source of the information, so nobody's gonna know where the community outreach came from. So originally I had put in the master plan and the downtown revitalization, but all that was crossed off. So it could be it could be from the housing production plan in 2012. You know, it could be from the open space plan, nobody's gonna know because we're not specifying, so.
well, but a survey
Which is fine.
is community outreach, even though you define community outreach. as
It's an
something different.
activity.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah, so. Well, you could do during recent community outreach. And then,
Activities.
and then you could, put in
Because
parentheses-
otherwise it's not a complete sentence.
Right,
and
yeah,
then- and then you could put it in parentheses, during recent community outreach, in parentheses, and surveys, close parentheses, participants felt strongly that Northborough's New England village character, as epitomized by the noteworthy historic buildings, should be celebrated, preserved, and carefully considered. So that's really the point of this, is that why did we do this? It's so that these things would be highlighted, not who did it. That's not important here. You can write a little story in the back if you want to, but this probably isn't the place to put all that stuff in. So during recent community outreach, including surveys, participants felt strongly.
I wouldn't include surveys, because I'd want to see the surveys before I believed you. You know, and if it was done at Apple Fest, it's gonna be a bunch of parents.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I personally, I'm of the ilk that this is all surrounding the master plan. That's the most important thing, was the master plan and implementing the master plan, not how important the master plan implementation was, or what happened with all these studies that we've done since then. Those studies were to create what we want to see in the town. So it's a sentence that I think I would put. I like the participants felt strongly sentence. However you want to start it, it should be relatively short.
That's what they're saying during recent community activities, because that shortens it, includes all of it.
Or-
I think the consensus of the group is just to leave it at activities. And then
You could even footnote it and say, you know, down at the bottom, I don't know, do we have any other footnotes in here? Because if we do, we could go into more detail there.
Yeah, I agree with that. And then there's.
And no one's really gonna question this, I don't think.
No, no,
They're gonna just go into the meat and potatoes at the end that tells what the massing is and what the.
Because remember your audience, this isn't the average person reading this. This is architects, engineers, possibly surveyors and developers.
They're just gonna say, tell me what I need to do.
They're actually probably not even
They
gonna look.
don't care. It's not gonna be your average resident who responded to the survey.
But you gotta remember too, that this whole thing is, this whole paragraph and such is at the beginning of the book to give the flavor of the book. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're the only audience. They're not even gonna look at this, they're gonna bypass it and go do whatever it is they do.
Right, so then maybe we should just leave it as activities, and then if they want, just to, because the, like you said, the main sentence is the one that follows.
Or how
And then,
how about just putting community outreach?
That's not a complete sentence.
Well, you're gonna
Out-
add it to the participants felt strong, but if you just do community outreach activities, meetings. such.
Yeah, it's not a noun. So
Unless
it
it-
describes something.
it could be though. That could be better though. Because when you say community
Yeah.
outreach, it's usually just short for community or outreach activities. Sorry.
so we're gonna have to move forward, because.
Yeah. Because I mean, for me, during recent, we've been talking about this since, when is, you know, the master plan's been going on for years and years and years. So it's not necessarily during the recent, it's during any community outreach, right?
Say during community activities,
Yeah,
participants felt strongly.
Yeah.
And they've been saying it for years, they said at the first master plan, so.
right. So
To say during community activities, participants felt strongly.
Yeah, but community activities could be a football game.
Hmm.
yeah, well, maybe they did talk about.
You know, it could be
But I thought that's what you-
Christmas tree lighting.
But I thought that's what you wanted was the activity.
Outreach
Outreach
activities.
activities.
Oh, outreach activities, that's fine. I thought you guys were trying to get rid of the outreach. so-
Oh, no. I just wanted to add activities.
Okay,
So I-
during,
I would take out recent, during community outreach, meetings, activities and such, whatever you put in there.
okay, during community outreach activities,
But do we?
But you do weigh the most recent ones better or higher.
Right.
right, but
I think
the
that's
recent ones
important.
match the old ones, so it doesn't even.
I know, but how far are we going back? Are we going back to the 60s? Are we going back to
But they still
the
manage.
70s?
To be honest with you, nothing changed. It's still
Right, nothing.
the same. Nobody changed what they wanted. So it's not like we came into a whole new, oh my God.
And no one's gonna read it that closely, whether it says recent or not.
I can't believe we're spending that much.
I know. So during community outreach activities, participants felt.
Yeah,
We'll just keep going.
that's,
So during community outreach, and like you say, the developers that pick this up are going to the meat and potatoes, what do I have to do? They're not gonna care what we said this year or last year.
yeah, you want to make this more timeless. That's part of the issues of making a book.
So the second sentence in the second paragraph. I see, Amy, you deleted that, but that is the character of New England, is that buildings are varied, reflecting incremental evolution over time. That's what sets New England apart from, say, you know, Celebration that was built all at one time in Florida.
I just didn't think it needed to be said. It said, new construction should respect the scale, character, and historic context of the downtown. I didn't think we had to say it should be varied, because
Well,
I think by saying it should be varied, that means you can do whatever you want, which is what they can do anyways. Like, do we have to tell them it has to be varied? They're gonna come with us and say, this building matches the building next door, like.
But that is not classic New England downtown. Classic New England downtown is varied. It should not be homogeneous. If you want it to be homogeneous, then it's not typical of classic New England
Right.
style.
Eclectic is the theme of.
Yeah, but you know, then when you're saying that, but then the other side is we want it to look like Hudson, or we want it to look like Westboro. We want a downtown that looks like a town, downtown. Now you go into the eclecticness and you go into the varied, that doesn't give you that same look. And that's kind of what we've been touring,
Oh,
what we've been turning
Better
to.
word than varied.
Because if you look at, like, the buildings should have all stayed big, so there are a couple of small convenience stores are stuck in.
Mm.
So you can say, well, that's varied, so we can do that, and then people are like, oh gosh, Bank of America, that was like from the seventies, but we don't really wanna go back to the seventies, even though it's varied.
Yeah, but what I'm talking about is architecture. So if you look in New England, you know, we have, just in the paragraph above, we're talking about all the various architectural styles. So you have colonial, you have, Victorian, you have, Cape Cod, you have, craftsman, you have, those are all a variety of architectural styles. What you're talking about is massing, which is not what I'm talking about here.
Yeah,
What I'm talking about here is an architectural style.
I just feel like it's always been done, that we don't have to tell them that it has to be
around
done.
1930, you kind of had a transition where you switched over to functionalism, where the building just suited its purpose.
Mhm.
So varied up until then, but not including anything after that. So.
I just felt like it didn't have to be said.
Well, I just think instead of varied, it could be evolving or something like that.
Well, and the evolution comes because we're the oldest section of the country.
Right.
So that's kind of redundant. I mean, that's New England only because you have to be able to change. But when you go through neighborhoods and you see, I mean, I use Manchester, New Hampshire as a great example. You see the different time periods of when things were being built. And
I guess what I'm trying to get at here is that a developer should not be matching the building that's next to it. So like if you are doing a development in the downtown, so let's say you're doing 3 buildings. So if we use the Bank of America property as an example, so she may be doing multiple buildings. So what she should not be doing is the same building 3 times, you know, she should not, it should be varied.
well,
So it shouldn't be the same exact replica building 3 times, which is a copy of the building next door. It should be varied because that's how buildings were built typically in Northborough.
yeah, I don't agree with that. I think that if she's going to build that section up, that should be uniform. I don't want to see 3 little lots again stuck together if it's a downtown look. If you want to try
And you don't want a classic New England character. You want homogeny. So that is not New England.
I don't agree with that. I think when you're looking at downtown, that the homogenization is important. You have to create a sense of consistency in that look, or you're going to have the convenience store and then the coffee shop that was a different kind of building and such. I think that it should be more in those areas, because it's such a small downtown, that you don't want to say, in one respect, we want you to utilize the old structures and continue that look, but then really they should really be varied. That, I don't agree with that, because it gives you 2 different messages. So if you want a downtown, you have to decide the look of the downtown. In the old downtowns, pretty much the same buildings, such in Hudson, when you go down to Hudson and you look at that little section, that's all the places where you like to have those signs that come out from the wall, they should be uniform, because that's how things were built. We're not building something today and then 20 years from now and expecting them to match it. we're building right now and what we're doing should be somewhat a consistent look. Or you have what we have right now where you've got 7 Monument Place that looks like a ski lodge. You've got the, what is it? Hillside Grill that's backwards. None of these things match and I don't like it. I personally, that's, I know it's a personal thing, but I don't want that look. I don't want to see a ski lodge or something done backwards because it works better with the terrain.
See, what Hudson did and what Westboro did successfully and what we're not doing is parking. They
Oh.
created parking. Northborough is not a walker-friendly town at all. Hudson is, Westboro is. They have parking. We don't. We're not walking friendly at all.
Right.
That's the difference.
Well, we're working on that, but right now we're talking about architectural
I
style.
understand, but
That's a bad example, because that was all built at the time
That is
after.
the difference between those two towns and what Lisa's talking about, because that is the ticket right there. I understand that we're talking architecturally, but that's the difference, again, just from, planning overall, just, done this and, Cornell, we did all this, planning and all, but that's your difference. That is the difference between the towns. That is what we're missing. And I just want to bring it right back to that is what, it's a nail on the head right there. And that's the difference in everything that we're talking about, just so we have, the outer view of the whole thing. That's what we're missing.
I agree.
Don't see the architecture of Westboro being homogeneous. I just don't agree with that statement.
I just don't wanna tell them it has to be varied, because maybe they do something that looks the same, looks nice, like I want the developer to bring forth their vision. And we can look at it and say, I think what downtown did is like, yeah, some of the parking's in the front, some of it's in the back, some of the buildings are set back, some are in the front, like, if she's bringing forth 3 buildings, whether they're varied or the same. I don't wanna tell them what to do, I want them to do what they think looks best. As like a preliminary sketch, we could say, oh no, or, oh yeah, that's really nice.
Well,
See, the thing that I think is problematic is that the explanation of New England character is being struck here. So the guidance, I thought the whole point of this exercise is to explain what New England village character is all about. And I think we're stripping it back so that everybody's still gonna be confused about what you want.
Well, that's
So if you want homogeny, then you need to say, we want everything homogeneous. But don't say that that's New England character, because it's not.
I don't agree with that. I don't think the word varied should be put in, but I don't, I'm looking at this paragraph and we've gone from what we've talked about, where Marcus put in all this background and what we've talked about should be separate from now what we're supposed, now that we're suggesting they do something new. When it says new construction should respect the scale and character of the historic content of the downtown, yes, it should. But when you start putting all this other stuff in, now you're giving, I don't even know if new construction should even be on that. I think that should be its own subsection. So the character is the narrative of what has come on and what we consider to be New England. The next thing that you're now saying is new construction should up. That should be its own new paragraph, because you're suggesting, or new section, you're suggesting now what the new construction should look like.
And I think when I did cross it out, I was confused because it does say varied, and then the next sentence it says harmonious.
Yeah.
So it was confusing to me.
I agree.
So I think you can vary the architecture, but still not. Like, what's a good example? I'm struggling to find, okay. So the white building that's next to Bank of America.
Bank of America.
So the white building where the plastic surgery is.
The old Lowe's, next to the WCIS.
So there were modifications to that building, to the front facade, as well as a large addition put on.
Mhm.
So I think that she did a good job of, so that building does not look like the building next door.
Mhm.
So I think she did a good job of making something look different, but still homogeneous.
Mhm.
So it still looks nice with the Brilla building, even though it's not the same. And so you take the Bank of America building, that is not harmonious,
Right.
in my opinion.
Oh,
So it's different, it's eclectic,
It's very.
but it's not harmonious. So that's why I'm saying, like, I think that those two sentences are really important and they mean very different things.
yeah, but the fact is that right now we're still talking to the reader about what downtown, what New England character is. You need to change,
Nobody knows what you mean by New England character, including me.
well, how do you?
And I'm the one who's meeting with these people I'm trying to explain to applicants what you mean. And I don't know what you mean because what you're saying is contradictory to New England character.
Well,
So
that's because you're
either
standing
you
on
want
the
New
wall.
England character or you want homogeny, they're different. And if you want homogeny, you need to say, we want everything to be homogeneous.
That should be in a different paragraph. What I'm saying is that this New England character downtown should be all what Mark has written. Because that,
Right.
I wrote this.
oh, you wrote that, the said 19th century and early 20th. All right, so that gives the sense. Then you have to separate what that was for what you're looking at now. So the new construction needs to be on its own. It's got to stand away from that.
Well, remember that flyer that had the New England architecture examples, page one? That was an eclectic, thing from colonial all the way through the eclectic era. And that's the definition of New England style of architecture, a mix of all of those styles,
Right,
but nothing really post 1930.
right.
I think the last section says calls it the eclectic era, right?
So I think being a builder, and I'm not a builder, so maybe this would make sense to them. But when it said it should be varied, and then the next sentence it says it should be harmonious, then I was like, well, I know you're saying the architecture should be varied and the building should be harmonious.
Yeah, so what I'm saying is that the architecture of the downtown is varied. So if you are going to put up a new building, it's okay to have a building that looks different than the building that's next to it. However, it should, or maybe instead of saying harmonious, complementary. How's that? Do you feel better with that word? Should also be complementary to the buildings that have a functional or visual relationship.
I guess the concern I had is the varied architecture, because I like most of the architecture downtown, but then it is the Bank of America where it was like, was it the 70s? And now people look at it and be like, oh my God.
I
So
know.
that would be, isn't that architecture?
That's well,
Yeah,
that's,
that would be modern.
Hmm.
But that's the whole process of going through design review too. Because in my opinion, that's not complementary to the buildings next door.
Maybe we just say we don't like the modern look.
well,
But modern is different depending on the era,
Right, that's postmark.
that's
right?
the whole thing. Well, and the line in the sentence says the architecture of new buildings should be varied. You're not, those are two different things. That means from now on, they should be. We don't have to reiterate that they are. You can say the architecture, the present architecture of buildings are varied. You don't have to, the word should be varied gives the reader direction on what they have.
I'll put are varied.
Okay, that makes more sense, because I agree, when you say should be, then it tells somebody you want it to be different than what they have now.
Yeah, I don't know, the New England style of architecture is defined in that paper, and it's anything from colonial times all the way through, what do they call it, colonial revival?
It's, and you know what, and I think those,
And arts crafts.
yeah, the
So you've
craft,
got that period set,
right,
anything after arts and crafts is not New England style.
right.
What
So,
year?
I like the designs here. I think that would be great to put on both sides of this. You know how they did in the Medway where they have the copy in the middle and then on either side they have examples? Using these examples because they're attractive and they give the reader an idea of what we're talking about. Because I've got that page right here. So that,
Now,
Yeah,
if
that
you
was
look
what I
at
have a
the,
lot of those.
if you look at the sample projects, they're all different architectural styles.
Mm,
Yeah, but it's all within these pages.
correct. So how can we say that?
So I'll just change the sentence so it says, the architecture of buildings are varied, reflecting the incremental evolution of Northborough's downtown over time. The scale and design of new buildings should be complementary with buildings or to buildings that have a functional or visual relationship to it.
oh, sheesh, the problem that I have then is the big controversy over what we wanted to do with, the old Texas barbecue and making it was told, well, it looks like the other buildings that are here. Therefore, we want to make it look like a 1950s.
This is for downtown. This whole section is just for the downtown.
Well, again, I think this has to be separated from what we were talking about in past. I think once you start this new construction should respect, that should be that whole information piece should be on its
Okay.
own as to what
So
we're.
you have New England Village character in the downtown Northborough, that whole section. So there should be a new title over new construction.
Whether you make it future building, whether it make it, it
But I'm talking about so this whole point has to do with new buildings in the downtown.
right, because you use should.
So we're talking about, additions, we're talking about new buildings, so I don't think that should be a new paragraph or a new heading because I'm not trying to give them a history lesson, I'm just trying to say this is the character of the downtown. So whatever you do, whether it's a renovation or an addition or a brand new building, you should complement the buildings around it.
Yes, I understand what you're saying. And again, when you start going into the should stuff, it takes away from what the above paragraph was talking about, saying encompassing this and making noteworthy historic buildings and all that. It's two separate things. One colors what's happened, the other gives direction on what you would like it to be. So the paragraph starts with the characteristics, New England characteristics. The characteristics are in those first paragraphs. Once you start saying what you should do, it should not be considered the characteristic. It's now in carrying forward. You're carrying forward the new look for the new century or whatever. You have to distinguish.
That's the whole point of that paragraph. It starts with new construction should respect the scale, character, and historic context of the downtown. That is what this whole paragraph is about.
I think it's just me, I don't know what Mark and Dave think, but I think it's okay there because the title is New England Village character in the downtown Northborough, so then the first couple are past and then it moves into the present. Like, I don't know, it's just overall talking about New England Village character. You guys think it needs to be split up? I really feel the developers are just gonna move on to the meat and potatoes, but,
I do too. I do too.
so I think I only crossed it out because I thought varied and harmonious, but now we've switched that.
Yeah, you got rid of harmonious.
No, we got rid of varied.
No,
And
we-
then traditional building
Well-
materials is next.
We can't get rid of varied, it's just, that's the definition
Oh,
of.
we got rid of the word should. We got rid of.
Yep, she got rid of should, so we'll move on from that. But do you think that it has to be a new section or it's fine here? I think it's fine, Lisa, I think. It's all talking about the downtown.
How about doing a then and now?
Yeah, I guess varied isn't needed. I mean, if we go, the building should reflect the increment.
But what Lisa's asking now is like, so you have New England Village character in the downtown, we talk about the past. And then it goes into new construction. Lisa thought they should be different sections, like we talk about the past, now we're talking about new. So she thought there should be a new title.
But, so then, so it separates then and now.
Yeah, but the whole point of the paragraph is to talk about the downtown. So that is why it's organized this way. So it's the only section in the whole design guidelines that is specific to downtown.
And the New England character,
Right.
yeah, so I think. I don't know, I think it should stay together,
Oh, it is a separate paragraph, so.
yeah. But it's the one section about New England, cause our whole purpose was to discuss New England character downtown.
How about if you start that new construction with today, comma, new construction?
But that's what we're talking about, because they're coming before the design review committee because they want site plan approval or a special permit.
I think by saying new construction, they know today, because new construction is today. New construction should respect the scale. I think they'll read it and not be confused. I think it's okay.
Okay, move on.
And we'll put those sentences back in with the changing of the word. That we
Yeah,
discussed.
what were the change, you getting rid of varied? Getting
should.
rid of harmonious?
No,
Or-
buildings are varied now, so what they are today, they're varied, so instead of, so varied is gonna stay, but it's gonna say are varied. And then the next sentence,
Okay,
it says should be complementary instead of harmony,
yeah, that's good.
yeah. Okay, so we're gonna move on from that.
So the next paragraph, that's fine if you wanna delete.
I was trying to keep it a little shorter and,
I kind of
And I-
like the outdoor room idea, so I was trying to explain so that they would understand that if they're on Route 20, a taller building is okay, whereas if they're on a side street, it should be a smaller building to take into account the smaller width of the right of way. But if that's too complicated, that's fine, but the one sentence I would like to keep is where buildings are set back from the sidewalk edge, landscape elements such as raised planters, hedges, low fences, etc. should be utilized to demarcate the street
Oh,
sidewalk
okay.
edge.
yeah,
So what I'm talking about there is if you look at the common, there's that nice fence which creates an edge. So even though it's all open space, it maintains the street edge of the buildings that exist along it. So I think that's important.
I like that one too, I don't know why I crossed it.
Okay. All right.
Alright, so we're done. So we're done with this whole section, and I think Mark and everybody, you guys reviewed. Lisa, you said you're gonna send in a new picture of the church.
Yeah.
And everybody, this isn't the final, so if Dave has some comments, he can email them to Lori. But on the next couple pages, we went through some historical buildings. Okay. So, the next section, process.
Yeah.
We didn't have any changes. Required submittal materials.
I just changed that.
Yeah. Cause we always ask about dumpsters and utility boxes, so Lori added that part. And again, Dave, if you have time to read, if you see anything missing, you can forward it to Lori.
Yep.
The next section for Lori added a section about sustainable and resilient building practices. Cause that's a whole new thing now with the new zoning code is green, right?
Yeah, it was also a big thing that was mentioned in the master plan, so I thought we should include it in our design guidelines.
That was one of my questions, because that's all part of the building code now, does it have to be in the guidelines if it is part of the building code now?
Yeah, I think,
Well, of course, they're coming to design review before they're going to the building inspector. Some of the things. So like, for example, I wanted to mention, like the low impact stormwater mitigation features, because those aren't addressed in the building code. Also, if they're doing like a big box retail, they should be considering solar panels on the roof. So I just wanted them to think about it as early in the design process as possible. So that when they get to the building permit process, they will have already incorporated some of these measures into the design.
Okay. I just
In the
wanted,
first sentence, I added historically significant, cause there's some buildings we really don't wanna reuse.
right.
On
To optimize energy.
the third sentence, proponents are encouraged.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
With this rainwater harvesting and I mean, some of that is energy efficient.
You question?
It's an energy responsive.
Yeah.
I can change that. Or
I-
should, you want me to say applicants?
Yeah,
Yeah, I agree.
And they're encouraged, but they don't have to, right? Like, cause green roofs don't work for everybody and
And
yeah, there's a
also,
payback.
If you
calculation.
don't have the appropriate topography or soil, then you can't do some of these things.
so they're all encouraged. And like on your check sheet, maybe they get extra points,
Right.
but they don't have to do it. If they come through and say, yeah, I don't wanna do a green roof, I'd be like, okay,
Yeah. And it may be something that is specific to like, okay, if EPA is coming in and they wanna build a building, chances are they would do that anyway. But there are certain applicants that you may specifically target for certain improvements,
Hmm.
sustainability practices. And they end up getting like a school. Doing a green roof for the high school would be really cool because they could include that in their curriculum.
But you're also looking at the price of those. Cause you
But
have,
this isn't anything that's a shall, so. It's all on what they, in reality, it's what they bring forward, cause. We're not forcing anyone to do any of it unless the code forces it.
what's sun shading devices?
Where are you?
Under the proponents were changing to applicants. Is it,
Like, you know, when we were talking about the fire station. And they ended up putting up well, it wasn't a pergola, what was it?
Yeah, it's perfect.
It was a pergola.
In the end, they took it off.
took it off. We weren't recommending that. That's not even a sun shading. That's like you can hang your grapes on there, but pergolas don't do anything for shade. They look nice.
I think they do. It does cut down on the heat. It does provide some
Well, but
shade.
yeah, but their angle wasn't correct with the sun angle, so.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
proponents also in the second paragraph, anywhere it's proponents, you can do applicants. We have to be careful, like, well, Dave, you're here, you said as a landscaper, sometimes the rain gardens are too maintenance intense, so they end up mowing over it, so it sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah, it depends on, it has to be in the right situation, in the right area.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're talking downtown Northborough. I may be surprised and find one that works there, that'd be great, but. You know. I think downtown, we're in a tight area for the most part, you know, surprise me, it'd be great.
Why don't I just say May?
Say the building that's next to the Hillside Grill on the other side of it, on the fire station. I don't think that's got a rain garden, doesn't it? Looks just
No.
kind of like a gully.
The whole,
And they didn't build that right. It's more of a detention basin.
Okay,
how come,
A rain garden, but that's the reason why the storefronts are not occupied, because they made many errors in the construction of that building. And they have not fixed them, so they won't be able to occupy the bottom floor until they fix them.
you're talking about 7 Monument Place?
Yep.
That can't be done until they do what they're supposed to do around the property.
right, that's what she was saying.
Okay. I'm looking at the sentence, excess energy may be sold back to the electric grid for credits. I don't know that that's necessarily something we have to put in there.
Yeah,
I'd strike,
And I was just trying to explain one of the benefits.
yeah, people know that when they're doing that solar stuff. That's not a guideline.
And then sometimes credits aren't available as a whole.
Uh-oh, he's muffled.
we
again.
can't hear what you're saying.
Dave, say it again.
And then sometimes some credits aren't available anymore, depends how much, you know, it's all different games with the solar, who knows where they're at.
Right. Yeah, so it's not an important sentence. So I would strike that.
Yeah, the S-Rex.
It's fine.
Okay. And on the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th one, it talks about trees. The town of Franklin has a huge tree list. And I thought maybe we should have an appendix with specific trees that we can use in the downtown. Because, and Lori, and I think Julianne talked to Tower Hill and they got a tree list that's.
No, it's not really a tree list. So I gave him the trees I was considering for the tree program. And he just looked at my list and said, no, yes, no, yes. So it was kind of, and then he gave me a couple of substitutions, so
Yeah.
I wouldn't use that as a tree list
Okay.
per se.
I do have, I think you might have given me like Franklin's.
I did.
Yeah, and they do have a tree list and shrubs, so maybe we can do that just to give applicants ideas. Of what are non-invasive good trees to use.
Put that in my book, so I think. And that's a people.
Yeah, I wonder if we should have a Tower Hill check it, I don't know how old those are, but it'd be good to have a tree list.
I
List.
agree.
Okay, Does anybody have anything else with the sustainable and resilient building practices?
Should we maybe put a reference to say building codes for?
Yeah, I think that would be good.
Because they have changed.
Yeah,
Or, yeah, always refer to building codes, because we could do that like little star at the bottom, or always refer to the latest building codes.
Yeah,
And that could be for the whole booklet, actually.
yeah, because I think a lot of people don't realize that plants are covered in building,
I know.
They aren't.
well, not plants, but this.
Okay, all right. So the next section, building placement, we had no changes. Setbacks, Lori added the setback for the latest zone that we added last town meeting. Same with open space.
Yeah, I think we already went over all these.
Yeah, nobody had any extra changes. I added the change with pedestrian accommodations. That I took out of Medway, because I did look at Medway's and look at ours. It just said where appropriate sidewalk paths should be provided linking public frontage streets to all building access entries. And it's what it shows in the picture. So,
Okay, the parking lot, we had, looks like we added nearest to match, that matches the bylaw, right?
Yes.
I remember that from the town meeting.
yeah. So that was under parking, yeah.
And then page 12, you have a new change.
Oh, page 12. Lori updated, took out the FAR stuff because we don't even have FAR in our town. And then I added building scale and site composition should reinforce the human scale. It's the same thing I added in the beginning, but put it under massing.
Yeah.
To try to make the buildings walkable, pedestrian. And then. I don't think anything else was added. Now we're at landscaping. There's a couple blue. Preservation of existing healthy attractive vegetation, because sometimes. You know, I know the applicants come in front of us and they say, oh, we wanna leave it, but it's not, it's all invasives and you wanna get rid of invasives.
We've also had the other direction too, where we've had people, oh, it's not healthy. And I've gone out and it's been perfectly healthy, and I'm like, no, it's fine. We've had that situation too. So.
Yeah.
Um,
She has the landscaping section up now, I don't know if you can,
I'm looking at it.
yeah,
difference defined spaces reducing on I think, go real quick, I think we have to also say someplace here that the landscaping has to be in, we talk about in perpetuity. But we want, if you're gonna put landscaping in, it's gotta be maintained. But I guess that's not up to the builder, is it?
Well, the other thing is irrigation is now legal in Northborough. So do we say it should be irrigated to maintain so it's not gonna die? And if you wanna put that in here somewhere.
I agree, yeah, I think that's a really good thing, because why plant the stuff, it's just gonna die. And you have to have a certain,
Should be irrigated.
okay, where would you put that in?
Dave, if you can email me some language, I'd be happy to include that.
oh, we're in landscaping,
Yeah,
Which is
16.
16.
So I'll add a comment about irrigation. Where,
yeah, Liz.
Maybe its own bullet?
Its own bullet, just, irrigation should be irrigated, maintain healthy, healthy plants, something simple, basic.
All right, so yeah, that line, preservation of existing healthy, attractive vegetation strongly encouraged, under that, then put.
Yep.
Irrigation.
Irrigation.
Don't we allow that now?
That's what Dave said.
Yep, it's allowed.
You said the bills, say that, underground irrigation is allowed. But I haven't looked at it properly.
Well, with the climate change, that might be short-lived anyway, because of course, well, we've had a drought all fall. So there may be some years where they don't allow you to turn on your irrigation.
If you change, but they've dropped it and said it was good for the town and, better to have green and, they're all for it now.
Okay. Yeah, it was weird that they would ban it even if you were on a well.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, well, it's all the aquifer though. I have a question before with the landscaping and rock versus mulch. Do we have a section in that?
They should be able to do what they want.
Well, yeah, except remember, this was the thing,
there's a fire
that came,
code.
they tried to get rid of the design review was because this committee had approved mulch, but it was commercial building, so they had to use non-combustible.
So for commercial
That
buildings.
made us look bad.
Yeah.
It was building code.
Bob said that maybe we can get the information from Bob, like it has to be stone for like 12 or 18 inches.
12 or
I think it's
18.
18 inches, but then it could be mulch after that,
Yeah,
so.
but maybe we put it in the guideline that stone, per building code, 18 inches of stone required. And then mulch can be after that. You can. work
Did
it.
I- did I-
But that's for a commercial only, residential can go mulch right up to the house.
Yeah, but multi-family residential.
Oh, multifamily.
Right.
Multifamily and
Because it came
commercial
up
needs
on me.
18 inches of stone. But yeah, residential.
All right, I mean, I think we need to put something in like that, and I personally don't like, again, going back to 7 Monument Place, all these rocks that were stuck there. I don't think there's nothing that's attractive in their landscaping. As a matter of
But
fact,
the crack
Yeah,
slope,
right.
Yeah,
That wasn't correct anyway, right?
but that's, yeah, and that's also erosion control measure, so you can't really say that they can't do that. If you have a steep slope, then
You think about
that
it.
would be required by the planning board.
Right, and then more and more, I can just tell you, commercial, like, obviously, I build all the Raising Canes, they're now specking stone. They still do mulch, but they're specking more and more of this stoning and the round stone everywhere. That's what a lot of the commercial places are going to, a combination of stone and the mulch. I'm just telling you what I see in my day-to-day when I'm going through, not that I like it, but I now have bins out here of stone. I never had that 4 years ago here. Now it's the bin after bin of stone on top of the bins of mulch that I have. But that's like the in thing, if there's a new wave of things, it's stone. Not that I like it, but that's what I'm seeing more of, again, in the commercial stuff.
Right.
Not that I agree with.
they're changing over stuff, like you see the post office change and you see Walmart changed. It doesn't look good. It doesn't maintain a great appearance because either cars drive over it or something happens and the stone starts to travel. I think it's being made just because they're thinking it's a cheaper way to maintain some sort of a difference between the pavement and an island.
They think it's cheaper up front and long term. They believe it's cheaper because you put the fabric down. But realistically, what ends up happening, even if the fabric and the stone's there, dirt will still get on top of it, lodge in there, and then you still get weeds growing on top of that fabric and the stone and going in there. And then we're still having to then do it, maintain it by hand, or worst case, go in with a chemical or a herbicide and do that, which is not smart long term.
Right.
But that's my 2 cents, and will they listen to me? Sometimes. Usually
Well,
no.
no, well, maybe we don't recommend it. I'm putting in
You
not
can do
recommend,
that. Yeah,
because it doesn't look good. It doesn't withstand what they're thinking it withstands. It's very cold. I mean, the more
people
you,
grip on it at Walmart, it's all over the parking lot, so some people get out of their car and you like go flying when you step on a rock.
correct.
Cause they're big rocks.
Yeah, it's tough to walk on, really tough. My
Yeah.
niece,
I can imagine plowing them, those parking lots with rocks everywhere.
my niece hate walking on the stuff. I walk out, if I'm done walking on it, I have to walk around on it. My knees are killing me afterwards. I'm like, yeah, this is great stuff, but.
So we should somehow write with landscaping that we don't wanna see all stone.
Right, well, and put it, just say, stone, replacement of mulch is not recommended. How's that sound?
Yeah, I mean, once they get their occupancy permit, they're out of our jurisdiction, we
Right.
can't lease that,
Right,
so,
but if it's in the site plan, they've gotta stick to what's in the site plan.
Right,
there's no way Bob's gonna go after somebody for putting stone down and stuff.
Bob doesn't go after anybody anyway, I don't worry about Bob.
Yeah,
Because he's tied up somewhere else usually.
That's
yeah,
not-
he's only one man, I'm
All
sure
right.
he's not gonna be the stone police.
Well, let's put
Right,
in
that
this,
would be the any
so
police,
that-
let's just put not recommended and at least.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can, put that in.
stone landscaping, not encouraged.
Yeah, you can also
It
say
really-
it's not I'm trying to think of the right words for this,
Except where required.
Right, except where required.
it's not.
Not eco-friendly, right?
No, it's kind of like we're going back, hey, we're trying to be. Not colonial, I'm trying to get the right architectural terms here, but it's not in step with,
Classic New England,
yeah, as far as. Rock landscape, that doesn't go, that's kind of more California.
Right.
Modern.
Arizona, yep.
Yeah,
Southwest,
that's
yeah.
not, that's.
The White Cliffs originally had the sidewalks done that way.
That's not this
But they-
vernacular, you know what I mean?
Actually, when I lived when I worked as Groton's planning director in the historic district, you were actually required to have crushed stone driveways.
Yeah.
You could not
Oh,
pave
yeah.
driveways.
Yeah,
Right.
not.
And that's a small pea stone
Right,
versus.
it's not wrap, a 4-inch wrap or 3-inch wrap. It's not exactly, it's not the historic vernacular of the architecture we're trying to do. This is a vernacular of modern architecture.
Mm,
Two don't go together.
I like that, not historic vernacular.
Yeah.
So
Is it
rock
like that?
landscape,
Set into water, so.
That was nice.
Yeah.
All right.
we need to-
okay,
Need to talk
so
about,
I don't know if, Yeah.
Really, that's new. Oh, no. it's
let's just
an
get
hour.
through this.
we're almost done, but I do,
This at least, and so you'll think of a sentence and send them out, Lori, and the changes we had. We'll try to highlight them or do them a different color, cause the computer keeps changing the colors. So lighting, we didn't change. Utilities is what Lori added before. Awnings, I deleted something from awnings. And I'm trying to think why.
is that what you've got, the lines
The
to it?
picture for encouraged awnings, it's got the verbiage across it.
Oh, it was crossed out. I said, who crossed this out and why? Oh. Under awnings, we had it was crossed out ahead of time. I don't know if we decided to cross it out. I was just curious why it was crossed out.
I have the old version here, so we would like notes.
See, do we allow that though?
No, I didn't talk to the lawyer about that. We have another awning picture,
Okay,
because that one doesn't, that awning picture that doesn't have an apron on it, but it's a pretty awning, but it doesn't,
we could just black that out.
yep. I think she put it on there to show a style of awning,
Yeah.
but then it doesn't match what we have in our awning sign guideline.
Photoshop.
Yeah, so that black awning is really pretty, and it's pretty how they wrote it there. But it doesn't go along with our sign guideline that says the
Yeah.
writing has to be on the apron.
But, that was a question I had on my sheet, was that if that was a fixed roof, you could have a sign across the bottom edge of it. So it was confusing to me.
I'm confused by what you're saying.
Like if you know, basically you picture a porch roof instead of an awning, then you could have a sign across the front edge. So why is it, because it's cloth, not allowed?
Hmm.
You talking like if you use the example of the old Lowe's building?
No, I'm talking more like the strip malls that we have, even with the neighborhood tavern is, they have a porch roof. And it's got signs across the front of it, or where Brittany's Cafe is. The sign is on the front edge of their porch roof.
And maybe we're okay with it on the awning and we just set a size, like some towns, if you have awning signs, it's like the awning sign can't be more than 10% of the awning. Or some of the towns have the awning sign must be on the apron. But what we're trying to do is allow an awning sign, which isn't even allowed now, but not cover the whole awning with material, with advertising. Because that's not the purpose of it. Purpose is, you know, have a sign, this is your store.
This is what I mean, like, these signs are allowed, but if that was an awning, it wouldn't be allowed,
Right,
so,
yeah, but maybe it's the size versus where on the awning you put it,
yeah.
like,
I think you're into a whole slippery slope if you start. It depends on where the awning is and what the writing is and how much it looks. And I think right now you're talking about it being on the apron, so the lower part that's flat, not the angled part. Correct?
Yeah, side, or, what I call that, or fascia.
Yeah, the fascia part. I mean, that you've got to make it very specifically small and you can't be, you know, you can't be putting all sorts of advertising like that. What was that one that we saw that had 100 things on it?
right. So we just have to be specific that it's 10% of the awning.
Well, I wouldn't you say 10%, I would keep it right on the apron. Keep it on the
What
apron.
if you have an awning that doesn't have an apron, like tavern on the square?
So you're not gonna see the song. Actually, I have to have it.
Well, that picture that I have, they don't have,
They don't have an apron.
no.
No, like this one doesn't have, it doesn't have a fascia, but the sign's still there,
Right.
hanging on the edge of it. This is just, you know,
So what would we call that?
I don't know, that's what, that was what I questioned in this, because I didn't. It'll be a while before Bob has a chance to look at it, I'm sure, so.
Yeah.
Understand the freeze, the other roofs.
Okay, so maybe Laura, you can look into why that one got crossed out.
I can't find it.
Oh.
I just went through all my old versions. It was there, it was there, it was there, and then it wasn't there. So it was crossed out, so there's no, I don't know, I mean, if you want, I can just put it back in.
Mm. Okay, so everybody go to awnings, and it talks about historic commercial buildings. Tend to look best with standard slope fabric awnings on a shed roof frame with a valance or skirt on the bottom. They can be fixed in place or installed. Straight sloped awnings work best on rectangular storefronts. Boxed or curved fabric awnings are contemporary design treatment that works well with newer commercial buildings. So do we think that needs to go back in? It came out, we don't know why.
Well, I don't like historic canopies should be retained and maintained on a historic building facade whenever possible. Because what are you referring to? What historic canopies are already on the buildings?
So canopies are defined in the sentence before. Fixed wooden or metal architectural elements. So they're made out of wood.
I think there are some canopies over in Fox Meadow. Don't some of those buildings have canopies coming out of the front of their buildings? What do you think? I remember walking
I don't go
in.
that way much,
I know,
but
Think I,
Full West Main had canopies. And then they put up scaffolding, but they could have built a fixed canopy to deflect the snow and ice. Instead of
That's
putting, you know,
This is a
Definitely.
canopy.
Hmm.
It's kind of like a porch.
I wouldn't consider that a canopy, really.
Do you mind if we,
No, Mama Java.
do you mind, if-
I think the building code says a certain overhang, they call it canopy.
All right,
It
so
goes
that's
from
probably
awning to
what she means.
canopy if it goes more than 30 inches or something like that. Bob would know that.
Looking up what I,
can we spend a little time on awnings for the next meeting? I mean, it's almost.
sure, give you awnings next meeting.
Okay, so why don't
And
you add
signs.
that back and then for the next meeting, you can review it.
Yep,
Right, because it's just too much. I mean, we're gonna spend a lot more time.
yeah, we are running late.
And I just wanted to mention that on page 10, if you go back to parking, you're almost there.
Yeah. Oh, and there's some on this building right here that we're in.
That's it.
Okay.
Okay, oh, okay.
Page 10?
It's on page 12.
Okay, it's different on my book here,
Funeral parlor then.
page 12.
Even this hall has canopy.
So
over
that
there now.
lower right-hand picture with the U's in front, the gray, she's got her arrow on it.
Yeah,
I would picture it like a porch. Even though a porch probably is a different
I
issue.
would consider that a canopy.
no, that's a porch.
It's a wooden canopy.
It's a portico.
Yeah, it's a portico, isn't it? I mean, that's not a canopy.
Maybe we should just delete that.
Odds of it ever coming up again, pretty slim.
Okay. But no, I wanted to go to where it was parking and do canopies and that sort of thing next.
Alright, so we're going to page 10, what's page 10?
I think it's 10. Maybe it isn't because it's got historical buildings. Why am I looking at this thing which says parking page 10 above?
Where are you?
It says page 10 on the copy, Town of Northborough Design Guidelines.
But it's page 20, oh, page 10 is page 20 on the document, so.
All right, so first look for pedestrian accommodations. Maybe that's the,
That's the page you're on?
yeah, I think it's,
Yeah, because a lot of the pictures are overflowing because of the footnote.
Okay, so I have that as page 8.
Page 8,
it's earlier than awnings, I think.
pedestrian, yep, right. So page 25 on this document or page 8.
Guys, I got a bus.
Every-
Hang on. So so
See.
after pedestrian accommodations, go down to where the next one is parking.
Okay, so next one, parking, oh, back to where I started.
There you go. That's it. See, page 10.
So it says page 10, but it's page 18 of the document currently.
All right, so
Okay.
my question on that is the last one, what we've added, parking lots within the downtown district, particularly on Main Street, should be consolidated and shared where day and night uses overlap to maximize efficiency and minimize curb cuts by making it possible for customers to park once and walk between downtown businesses. Shopping will become easier. I don't know that works for downtown. When you have we've talked about this, I think Amy's brought it up. When you own a parking lot on your own and you start allowing other people to use that parking lot, you have insurance issues, because if somebody hurts themselves, drops their whatever, they'll sue you for using their parking lot.
Well, they need a sign.
Well, I mean, generally, what we're trying to do is we're trying to encourage a pedestrian-friendly downtown. And one of the major impediments to that is the fact we have plenty of parking downtown. It's all in these privately owned parking lots.
You're
So
privately owned.
other
That's-
towns have done that where, like, if you think about once again, the Bank of America and then the building next door,
She owns all that.
and then even the Brilla Coffee, they all have the ability to drive between the parking lots. So there are no impediments in the way of islands that prevent you from driving to all of those various buildings.
And all those buildings are owned
that's-
by the same person. They're
That's
all
also
on the
what our
same
zoning
page.
bylaw says.
Right, and also when you have shared parking, you get rid of the buffer between the two. You don't have to have that. So that's a big benefit.
Yeah, I mean, one of the great things is that during different hours of operation, like for example, the municipal lot on Blake Street. So there's no barriers between the lot for Fatouche, the lot for the doggy daycare, and the municipal parking lot. So right now, of course, there's only the dentist in there. But eventually that building is probably gonna be full. But the benefit of not having the barrier is you get to share spaces, so, you know, when Touche is busy, then the spaces won't be used at the doggy daycare.
You
Because
may-
that business is closed, so that's the whole point.
Well, again, with private property, they control what they do with their parking. If you ask somebody who's paying taxes on property to let somebody else use their land, even though it's a lovely idea, it's not financially a good idea, and it's not necessarily, you don't know who's going to come into that business the next time and have later hours or whatever. So I don't think you can expect somebody who owns private property to share their parking with people who don't have any parking at all. If it was
Well,
me.
this parks in downtowns all over the place,
Yeah,
so.
I think I saw that on almost every design guideline that I looked at.
Yeah, this is a common practice.
And I say with new construction, if they were to build the daycare place and the restaurant next to each other, they'd have to have 2 15-foot buffers in between those two. So you get rid of all of that if you agree to have common parking. So
Well,
it is a benefit.
And they have insurance, so
Right.
the
And there's
insurance
plenty of
would
signs
cover
that say not responsible for things.
Yeah, the
Someone
sign,
twists
the
their
sign
ankle.
doesn't matter. You fall in that parking lot, break a leg, you can sue them.
Is
We
that-
could just say it's encouraged, you know, it's like a discussion to have with an owner.
I
But-
will tell you from, I'm a legal professional witness for multiple insurance agencies and more attorneys. Jason Stone, Rafferty, I can go right down a list. It's 1.5 miles long. And what I specialize is in slip and fall for snow and snow related incidents. Lisa's 100% correct.
Thank
And
you.
the amount of lawsuits that I've dealt with are unreal.
But that doesn't mean we cancel, Apple Fest because somebody twisted their ankle once. I mean,
No, it's
It happened though, they wouldn't let us park there anymore.
yeah.
They
yeah,
did get sued.
it's a non-instrumental
This is-
issue.
Yeah.
We're not in the business of insurance, so
You can't expect somebody who's paying taxes and privately owning to just take that liability on.
Correct.
Well, they don't have to. I mean, this is completely discretionary, right? If you
And
want
it-
to share.
and
this is just a suggestion
Yeah.
that would be made, and if they don't agree, then they don't agree. The planning board wouldn't require it as a condition of approval, but
Make them put up a buffer.
it is recommended, and I can give you many examples of
Recommendation.
this happening right in our own downtown.
It was just like the company that came in for the MPIC and saying that CVS parking was going to be public and you could use CVS parking. Parking is a very touchy subject, especially when people don't have enough of it. So if you have a lot of municipal lots and people can use the municipal lot, that's one thing. But when it's a privately owned situation, you're asking for trouble. You're saying there's just too much involved in it. So I don't particularly want to, should be consolidated and shared that's the whole idea of this multi-use situation. But once COVID came and people stayed home and they're not doing the things that we used to do, which you left at 8 o'clock in the morning and you came home at 5 o'clock at night. That standard isn't here anymore because people come and go. There's just a lot of situations where you can't expect somebody to give up the land that they're paying taxes on. And if
I wonder
you
if we could back it off and say like applicants could consider or
Well,
Like
it's
just-
also in our zoning bylaw.
I would.
In our
tell you-
design standards, it says. It talks all about sharing of
Yeah,
parking.
yeah, and I think that's where I read the buffer thing, is it?
But it's not forced.
I would
Yeah.
highly recommend consulting an attorney on this one before you put something in writing. Highly recommend that one.
It's already been approved by the Attorney General's office. It's in our zoning bylaw.
Okay, as long as you.
Yeah, we can just change the word from should to can, or something like that, right?
Yeah, like it's not,
Yeah.
I'll have to read our zoning, but I don't think it's mandatory. It's just consideration.
But it is a big improvement to a downtown area.
Well, yeah, but you gotta, you gotta look at the reality. I mean,
Well, you don't want a person pulling out onto Route 20 just to pull into the next lot either.
If we want to get away from the sprawl corridor that currently exists, then we have to eliminate some of these driveways that are along Route 20. That is the difference between Westboro and Hudson, so like historic downtowns, even the downtown in Northborough that existed 100 years ago. So the consolidation is the way that's gonna happen. Otherwise, we're just gonna continue with the sprawl corridor we have.
no, you might be. I'm with
We
Dave.
could look at this
think
one next
I
time too,
just-
but maybe we could rewrite it where they, and point to the bylaw. But where they should consider it, but I mean, they don't have to, we're not, I wouldn't force
Yeah,
anyone
I
to
mean,
do
you
it.
say liability is only slightly changed versus, if a person parks in a parking lot and they're going into your business versus a different businesses, it's just not that big of an increase in liability. If you have a hole that it's gonna break someone's ankle, no matter which store they're going to, and
Well, you guys are expecting things not to happen, and things happen, and people pay for taxes and they pay for their property. So to expect somebody to pay taxes and let you use if somebody wanted to use my driveway because they didn't have one, I wouldn't let it. What would my benefit be? You have to look at the reality of when you own something and you have to pay for something, and insurance.
you are giving them a benefit. I mean, you're getting rid of a buffer, so you're adding 30 feet to a parking lot.
And maybe a buffer creates a little bit of environmental softening.
Right, but if
Buffer's
you've got a
away.
25-foot parking lot and you do 15 feet of it as a buffer, you don't have a parking lot anymore, you got a driveway.
You don't need 15 feet necessarily.
Well, that's what the bylaws are.
Why don't we, we'll come back to this, and we'll come back to the awnings and the signs, but maybe. When we send out this, Lori, with the changes, could you point to the bylaw that talks about shared parking?
Sure.
And we could definitely buffer it down, it's not something that an applicant would come in and have to do. It's
Right,
just a
right.
recommendation.
But that,
if
when
they
we were
want
doing the
to.
fire station, I recommended raising the parking lot for the guest parking to put it at the same elevation and share it with the Hillside Grill, because that's 30 feet of real estate to reclaim.
Right. Definitely, but we do have to go over the sign bylaws too, because they're gonna go in front of, and if people can't stay today. Maybe we can meet in a week or two, because before the next planning board meeting. Wanted to discuss them, so see if we're done and finalized on the sign bylaw.
Well, we did spend 6 months last year talking about the sign bylaw.
Yep.
So, I mean, do we have to go over it again?
I have a couple
I-
changes, and Mark probably was.
Well, I had a couple of questions, not really changes, just on, on my slides, and that's, if that has to wait for Bob, that's a 5-minute thing when you're in the same room.
Yeah, and I had some things too, we were talking about the difference between the freeze and the parapet, and
Yeah,
we're trying to make it better, we wanna make businesses be able to stay in business here and not have so many questions about
I guess
signs.
my question is, since we already spent so much time at design review discussing that, can we just discuss that with the planning board? Cause the design review already signed off on the sign bylaw last year.
I'd rather talk about it here first,
we can do it quick, I mean, I don't,
cause we went into it in detail, but the planning board hasn't, so they're gonna look back at us and.
well, it was still like the little things about vinyl sign versus banner, whether we could use temporary and permanent banners and just terminology stuff, so not concepts.
Okay, I have to go. It's
I'm,
11.
I'm there too. I gotta be in Weston. It's.
Okay.
So,
Huh?
I'll work on this other thing and then
Oh,
we'll, a couple of weeks, we can get back to whatever it is you need, but
Okay, so we'll call the meeting to adjourn.
please. I have a
All
motion. I'd
right.
like to make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
I'll second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
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 I don't know with hybrid if we have to call it his name. I
No,
don't
we got it anyway, so
Yeah.
let's go.
Yeah.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
All right,
Bye.
bye. Thanks for going. It was important, it took a long time, but it was very important that we hash this out.
That's true.
Versus in front of an applicant.
Absolutely. All right. Thank you very
All
much.
right, thank you. All right, bye.